Okay, well, we are live. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining in our first Meet the Maker talk with WhoppingPochard. Um, Daniel, you want to start things off here?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Daniel McKay. I'm the owner of West 3D Printing. It's a community-focused 3D printing parts and supply store. We're heavily focused in the Voron community. In fact, I'm repping the Voron t-shirt right now. Um, like Alan said, we're doing our first Meet the Maker series. It's something that we would like to keep doing, and I was just telling John or Whopping Pochard that it's something that I think is missing in our community today. We've got unparalleled community, very friendly people on the design team, or people that are really involved in the project. Um, you know, are willing to dedicate time. He's not being paid or anything like that
Okay,
to to
hold
learn
on.
from us.
Hold on, Dan. I'm sorry. We are having an audio issue. Let me Give me just a second. Dan, go ahead again. Say,
Yeah, is this better?
I think we're good.
If not, I can start yelling. And in fact, I'm going to just shut the door over here because I'm sure my wife doesn't want to hear me yelling.
Okay, looks like we got it.
Is that
Sorry
better?
about that.
Awesome, sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Again, thank you guys for joining in. We have here Whopping, and I always want to say Pochard, and we actually looked up the name of the bird. It's Pochard, I think, or something like that. But anyway, we have John Sanders over here, otherwise known as Whopping Pochard, in the Voron community, and I guess the general 3D printing world. Um, Thank you guys for joining us. We do really have the most amazing community here. I'm not going to go through the introduction again of West 3D or anything like that. But the Meet the Maker series is something we would like to run occasionally because I think it's a great opportunity for people in the community to have an opportunity to meet some of the people that are behind some of the coolest things that we're working on or seeing today. And in fact, I just did the posting I got yesterday, the PCB clickies. So this is one of those things that are super cool, and it's nice to be able to talk to somebody that was responsible for its development. So John, thank you for joining us today. We do have some questions sort of pre-baked, but we also offered the community, if they have anything, they can use the chat to ask if there's any questions. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick though?
Sure. I'm John, aka WhoppingPochard. I also don't know how it's pronounced. It came from a random username generator. I just thought it looked cool. And now we're stuck with it, I guess.
That was one of my
Uh,
questions.
yeah, I thank you so much for inviting me on, and I totally am 100% behind the sentiment. I was just telling Dan that for me, going to Murph over the summer was really similar in the sense like getting to meet the Voron design team, and all the like people there have just been so friendly and inviting. And I think it's just a really special thing. It's to me what really brought me into making it my maker space in Ithaca, New York, where I used to live, and really kind of got me involved in the first place. So to the extent that I can like help that feeling, that vibe, I'm like super down. I'm really excited for it.
Awesome. Thank you. We did have a request for introductions all around. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go in order of my screen. Alan, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Alan Rand. I do some media stuff for Dan and Civi at West 3D. Um, yeah. that's kind of what I'm doing.
Awesome. Yeah, he's the master behind all the videos that we have right now on our YouTube channel. Thank you. We've got actually a Rainbow Barf video, from a project of John's here. We've got a can video and some others that have, Alan, thank you for putting those on. We do have we have a couple planned also for some new mods. Alan's doing a build series, and we're also going to be unboxing and asking your feedback on a potential future printer support thing. So kind of want to get your feedback as a community, because we're a small shop, and we don't want to go the way of offering things that we can't really dive into and really know and support. So we can handle one other printer that's entry level, and we want your guys' feedback. So we'll be posting that in the next couple weeks. And Sibby.
Hey y'all, it's Sibby. So yeah, I'm Sibby from the Discord, the Pikachu alias, if you've been on there. And I'm officially the relationship manager, but we kind of all do everything. So I don't even know if that really describes what we're doing, I guess, or me specifically at my job. But yeah, just super excited to finally like get on camera and like put a face to a name and meet some of you guys virtually at least. So, and obviously WhoppingPochard. I'm getting used to that. I was saying Pochard for like the longest time. Pochard. But yeah, just super excited to actually meet you. Obviously, you're like huge in the community and come up with a ton of great stuff. So just excited to kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Awesome. Well, I think that's everybody. If my mic was low, but I'm sure hopefully you guys picked up some of that. We do have some questions, and I am going to keep the chat open. I'm going to look at the chat in case there are any questions. Feel free, please just ask. But I have a couple pre-canned ones that I was curious about. One of them was just how you came up with your name. The random name generator is not what I would have anticipated. So that's awesome. One of the
I was
questions
like, hey, I think it was originally for Reddit, and I was like, oh, hey, I should come up with something that's like not linked to my actual identity.
Well, and here you are on YouTube with your name showing up here, and yeah, that's ruined. One of the questions, which is actually, it was a community question, is sort of how did you come to be WhoppingPochard in the way that we know WhoppingPochard?
Yeah.
So obviously, you have a background, and you're now doing this, and I don't know how long you've been doing this or how you started doing this.
It's been an interesting journey. I'm a biologist, an evolutionary biologist by training. And so I got into 3D printing basically when I needed to make a widget for my research, right? Like I needed to needed a magnetic rack for a thing that you do in some DNA types of operations. And you bind DNA to these little tiny microscopic magnetic beads. And then you just need a magnetic rack that you can put your test tube in. So all the magnetic beads would go over to the side of the test tube. Very simple thing, right? Well, they cost like $300 from the laboratory supply companies.
Wow. And
I was like, I'm a poor postdoc in a new lab. Like, I don't want to spend my limited research budget on a friggin' piece of plastic with a magnet in it. And I had heard about, 3D printing is a thing you can do. So I went over to the library maker space at Cornell, and they had 3D printers, and I downloaded a thing on Thingiverse. It was absolutely terrible file, but it sort of worked. It kind of worked. And then it broke immediately. And I was like, well, I could do better than that. And just this kind of like, one thing leads to another. And before long, I was up, Fusion 360 watching YouTube videos. I was like, man, I hate going over to the library to use their printers. I want my own printer. And I bought my first 3D printer on Alibaba or something. I can't even remember where I got it from. And it was off to the races. It was just all these problems to solve, one after another. And originally it was for my job, right? I was coming up with all these new biology implements to print. And it just got super fun. And then the pandemic happened, as we all know. And I know that a lot of people got really into 3D printing in the pandemic. I was running a print farm in my basement. I was managing our maker spaces PPE production. So I was collecting all the visor prints and sterilizing them and bagging them and shipping them out to hospitals in the area. And so I was just kind of like, this was my whole life for a month or two. Uh, and that eventually led me to the Voron community. I decided that I needed a non-bed flinger. People that know me on Discord will know that I have developed a loathing for bed flingers. So at that time, I wanted to get a Core XY machine, and I wanted to build it myself because I like building shit. And I was kind of looking around, and it was sort of between the Voron, the Hypercube maybe, and then the BLV cube. And at the time, the Voron community had this reputation of being kind of like hostile and elitist and stuff. And so I went with the BLV cube, which is over here, and I think it's printed one benchy ever. Before I started the constant cycle of like trying to upgrade it and stuff. And eventually I decided this was maybe 6 months down the road, I needed a printer that could actually print. And then I built the 2.4 here. And then it just kept going, kept iterating. I found problems in my lab that I needed to solve. I solved them with 3D printing. I found problems with my 3D printer that I needed to solve, and I solved them with titanium. And it just kind of like led to this, and it's still going. It's really fun.
That's incredible. So sort of from the time you got your first 3D printer, and I'm sure some people want to know what it was, how long did it take to turn that into being like having an entire print farm and running a maker space and all that?
Well, I was would have been 2018 when I started at Cornell. So I got my artillery sidewinder, no, artillery genius, the smaller one. And probably 2019, I want to say, hard to say.
Oh, wow. I mean, so within what, like, are you saying within like a year? You were just dove in?
Yeah, I fell hard, man. Like I said, I kind of had my printer going when the pandemic started rolling, and that I was like primed. And I was actually at that point, I was already involved in the maker space as a board member at the Good Generator. If any of you all are in upstate New York, it's a fabulous maker space, really wonderful people. I would definitely not be where I am now without having been a member there. And so that just kind of things kind of got out of hand. I don't know.
As they often do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna let someone else ask some questions, but I do have more for you.
Do you have anything, Civi, or I'd jump in?
Yeah, I mean, you may have already kind of answered one. One that I kind of had written down was just like specifically, what about Voron kind of made you start working with the printers and solving problems, I guess, specific to Voron. So just would like to hear kind of what.
Question.
Yeah, well, just, what drew you?
Yeah, so like I said, initially, when I first started wanting to make a Core XY machine, and I was doing research, I was reading some things from the Voron community that made it sound kind of hostile and like resistant to mods and uninviting. And so I went with this BLV cube and built it. Hey, Sanity, good to see you here. I'm also watching the chat. And building the cube was interesting. It was definitely an experience. And then, as I said, it never worked that well for me. So I was always tearing it down and designing upgrades. At the same time, I was learning how to do CAD. So like I'd design an upgrade, I'd print it out, and the process I would learn so much that I realized that what I had done was kind of crap, and so I'd have to go back to the drawing board. So eventually, when I decided I needed to actually have a printer, a large printer that could print for some of my Labware projects, RCF had posted to Discord this sort of intentional, very thoughtful post about wanting to like address some of these perceptions of the community as being hostile towards mods and or modifications and uninviting. And I was actually really impressed by that. It's not easy to change the culture of a community, and to do so like intentionally and with care and thoughtfully is really something. And so I kind of gave it a second try at that point. I built this, ordered the parts to build this V2, and the contrast of building the V2 with building the VLV cube was amazing. It was like I sat down and there's this amazing manual. It was a little bit less verbose in the newer version of manual. This is pre-revision 2, pre-Trident. But I learned enough at that point that I could really appreciate all the thought and care that went into it. And it's really special to be able to, it's an unusual niche, right? Like most commercial products, like this bamboo thing, they're trying to meet, minimum cost, maximum profit. Like they don't want to invest a penny more than they have to on documentation or user experience. It's kind of like a inevitable race to the bottom in a lot of ways. And the Voron design community is really a passion project of many people. So you have this opportunity to iterate and improve and like get feedback. And so as I was building this machine here, I like do something that I didn't understand. And then 2 pages later, I would see why I had done that thing. And it was just like, wow, moment, it's like, wow, this is amazing. And that's a special feeling. There are few opportunities in the world to be able to build something like that has so much care, and just because there's not many opportunities for that many people to put in that much work, and that kind of thing. So that really, I found that to be beautiful. It was a sublime experience. I was all over it. I was
that's amazing and fantastic. And I mean, I can just my little shout out to the community. I do think the Voron community must have gone full circle, because it seems to be one of the most mod friendly communities now. And I mean, I think it's amazing to see some of the best mods make it into essentially revisions or updates to the printer. So I mean, where the team is obviously accepting some of this improvement. And I don't think you're coming out and saying, hey, what's the minimum viable product or whatever we can produce. You're kind of, people are, I mean, the tap is an example probably of like, let's not worry about cost or anything like that, like complication. I mean, all of this stuff, you warn it's AP class kind of thing the team does. So but you see like these mods just making it and everybody's all behind it. I will say, out of the people that you probably work with, I'm probably on the dumber side of the spectrum. And the questions that I ask, to you and to others, and just the help and that I receive, is incredible and amazing. So it truly is great. And just my plug to the other vendors in the community too. There's been times where I've fallen on, tough times, and I'm trying to help out a customer and I oversold something or whatever, and being able to, call Hector up at Fabrico or go to KB3D and have them come through for me like a competitor. I mean, it's an amazing community that we have, truly, on both sides. I think as a user, as well as a vendor, it's truly incredible. We do have a question, and it was one that I also got submitted in writing, but what's it like on the inside? How is it being part of the design team?
It's very informal, and I don't know, it doesn't feel any different than being in any of the other channels, I guess. It's just more repeat interactions, I guess, with a smaller group of people. I think that's important to me. It's like sometimes there can be too many cooks in the kitchen, right? I think we sort of saw this with the Stealth Burner beta release. Everyone was overwhelmed by how excited everyone was, and like as soon as the files hit, like people, myself included, the STLs were like, I was hacking those STLs in Fusion and like making the Rainbow Barf thing, and like you can't stop that excitement, but it does sort of like make it difficult, I think, to really focus on some of the core experiences and iteration and feedback. So I'd say that it's really just the same, but with a smaller group of people. And there's nothing surprising, I guess, except that like I continue to be impressed by the thoughtfulness and kindness and enthusiasm of all the people that I work with at Voron. Like at Voron, it's sort of a funny thing. There's no at Voron.
That more nebulous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of excited enthusiasts who have really different backgrounds and experiences and expertises. And one of the like in particular, one of the fun things recently for me was working on the tap PCB, the 24-volt version of the tap PCB, right? As I said earlier, I'm a biologist. I'm not an engineer. By no means am I an electrical engineer. But I got a lot of help from people who are electrical engineers in the Voron design team. And like they were walking me through like using an oscilloscope to like measure things, and we were figuring out like that the capacitance wasn't quite right, and we can improve the performance of this part by changing some of these components. And I dig that kind of thing. It was so fun. And it was so cool to be able to like have that kind of feedback and help and iteration. I really get a charge out of working collaboratively with people to do stuff, to like accomplish tasks or solve problems. And so this is just like, it's catnip to me. I can't get enough, which is why I like am formally unemployed and currently doing this quasi full time now.
That's awesome. You know, as you keep developing new awesome stuff, and again, I was showing off the clicky PCB or PCB clicky, and if I remember, I have some extras. I brought 3 extras to give out. I'll try to come up with some trivia, or maybe you can ask some questions. People know you. But I mean, as you start doing this, is it something that you've thought of, like just making this a full-time thing? Is that a possibility?
At the moment, like I think, well, you know the drill, right, Dan? Like this is it's such a it's such a special, weird thing to be part of. So it's when you talk about a full-time job, I've got a kid, I have to think about, you know, college and stuff and stability and healthcare and all these things. So like I don't know, but at this moment in my life, we just moved in with some good friends of ours. We're starting a co-living sort of situation, with kind of the intention of helping each other out and raising kids together and stuff. And so I'm kind of like between jobs right now, and I'm making it work with some consulting. So I'm still a biologist. I still do bioinformatics and evolutionary biology. And I'm fortunately able to do that as like an independent contractor at the moment to pay the bills. And that gives me a little bit more flexibility to spend time playing with Voron type things. Is Voron still going to be around in 10 years? Is Voron community going to grow to the extent that like it can help pay for my daughter's college? I don't know. It'd be cool if it was, but we'll see.
Totally.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But the thing that I want to make sure is that it's always a labor of love. And the thing that makes me excited about it is that, and you were mentioning the vendors and how integral that is to the ecosystem. I really think that too, because it means that like if you're a hobbyist and you're playing around and wanting to do cool stuff, it means that there's someone going to bat for you to like try and make that cool stuff happen. And that's a really unique situation too. It's really special. And I think we're kind of like at the level where all these interactions can be like pretty positive sum, right? Like someone has a really cool idea, someone else has like some experience that can help make that idea a reality, someone else has a business that can like be motivated to and has the experience and the connections to bring that to fruition. And everywhere along the line, everyone's having a good time, right? Like if we can keep that going, it's really awesome. And I'm really motivated to make all of those things be positive sum. Like as great as we can make it for everyone all along the line, I'm super stoked.
Awesome. It's fantastic. We have two other questions. One of them is a can related question. I feel like CAN bus is still the thing on everyone's mind. And the question was, do you see it ever being part of a standard config?
That's a great question. I have no idea. It seems hard for me to believe that it would be at this point. But it would have been hard for someone building a 3D printer 10 years ago to imagine that like we were running 32-bit boards with dedicated single board computers and all of these other things. So I don't know. I think if it becomes like ubiquitous and supported and predictable, it could be, but also part of the sort of design ethos of Voron printers is that they be very accessible and have sort of like a relatively low minimum bar of certainly like no bespoke parts. So for instance, my kinematics kits, which are laser cut for Vorons, they will never be part of the Voron standard bill of materials because it's like against the rules to have like specialty
you can't get it off the
custom
shelf
parts.
Anymore. Yeah,
it's not a commodity item, and 3D printer control boards aren't necessarily commodity items either. Like a while ago, 3D printers were all run by like Arduinos, straight up Arduinos with some other bits sprinkled in. So maybe over time we migrate towards where it feels like CAN boards are just like an Arduino
thing.
Everyone's got CAN boards. My 8-year-old knows CAN protocols. Like maybe that happens, but I don't know.
I mean, you just mentioned it. I thought of that. That is interesting because, most printers, you got a Creality and, like the standards, it's the Creality board. It's like their own thing. And, you can move away from that, but that's not sort of the condoned approach. And I'm thinking, I mean, even for like, for at least, well, actually for all the Vorons, they're board agnostic, kind of. I mean, there's multiple boards. There's not like a standard one in the BOM. I know LDO is just using the Pico. They've used the Mini, E3 on the, Spider boards, Octus boards. I mean, everything. It's not standard, right?
Right.
I think the design team obviously has thought about making sure that it's accessible for people, which is fantastic. I do like this question that came up too, because you mentioned that, the way that things work, it doesn't feel much different, but as you're working, you're working with other people and, you're able to pass off ideas. They're able to show you how to do things. Do you think that inspires people like on the team and inspires you and, just everybody? I mean, I'm guessing it's a bunch of smart people in a room that really are passionate, and it seems like that would just be an awesome environment.
Absolutely. And I do find that really inspiring. And I would say that I like find as much inspiration like outside of the Voron Owners Club section as well. Many of you probably know I hang out most of the time in the vendor channels. And there's so much creativity and expertise and knowledge and just diversity in all over everywhere associated with the 3D printing community, not just Voron. And I find that to be really rewarding. So to the extent, I think the extent to which we can inspire each other to like do cool things and have positive impact on each other's lives and the world around us, like I'm all for it. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Are there any projects that you're working on that you can share?
Oh man, I have so many freaking projects going on all the time. It's really, really catastrophic. One fun thing I've been doing, some of you may have seen the video of this is a little door hinge handle latch that I've been working on. It makes a really nice, satisfying click. I don't know if you can hear it.
We'll have to trust you.
Yeah. Okay. And because I hate the like two little flimsy door things. It's awful. So this is based on the Easy Bake door mod in the Doom Cube GitHub, and then I was just working on some latch kind of things to make it a little bit more of a positive seal compression, foam compression thing. I've got a whole bunch of titanium fasteners here. This is my little titanium fastener box. So there's always stuff going on for me because of my like titanium fetish. These are some black PVD coated titanium fasteners, which are really gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
I've had these sitting on my shelf for the last 6 months. They were like a sample order from a vendor, and I might try and get more of them, but I've been meaning to list them as like beta stock on my website to send to people. There's some secret stuff that I'm working on over in the like electronics chaos over there.
Guys, hurry up! Take a screen grab, zoom in.
Yeah, good luck.
Enhance.
It takes me 10 minutes to find anything on that bench, so you'd be really. Let's see, anything else that's like.
Well, I'm going to ask I'll ask a side question then. Are there any community projects that you're excited about? So maybe not things you're working on, but something that somebody else is working on that you want to share?
I'm going to think hard so I don't accidentally spill any beans here. Well, people know about the mini SB, mini stealth printer that's working on. I'm super excited for that. I've got this is my like V0 project that I've been working on for a while, but it's got some early revision in the mini SD on there.
Oh, sweet.
And
so haven't tried it out yet, it looks like.
I'm terrible. I will not finish a project unless I'm like really put under the gun. So so that's cool. I love all the LED stuff that's going on, you know, all the stuff that Timot's like spearheading with NeoPixels and things. There is actually a new thing I've been cooking up with some folks on that front. It's really egregious and like completely over the top and absolutely unnecessary and super fun. So those will be actually the prototypes for those, or the next prototypes for those are going to come along with some TAP PCBs hopefully this week.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll have some more information at some point.
Cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, better doors. There's people working on better doors. Doom Cube stuff is really cool. I'm excited to see like more things going on there. Oh yeah, there's another thing over in the Doom Cube Discord. There's a channel called Common Anomaly, and there's someone working on this really amazing tool changer based on the V2. And it takes advantage. I think this is super clever. It takes advantage of the flying gantry in the V2 to really be able to make a tool changer that doesn't compromise as much with the build space as a typical tool changer does. So, your usual tool changer, Trident style, you have to park the tools. And because you're parking the tools at the same level as the bed, you're giving up all of this build area. But with the V2 here, I get put my tools up here and I'm not sacrificing any of my build area down here, right? So if I store my tools up there and I just move the gantry up to grab them, then that's a really like elegant way of adding a tool changer potentially to just the standard V2 build. And that's he's working on getting a beta together. He actually used to, or maybe still does, work at Stratasys. So he really knows his stuff, and he's has a really amazing design aesthetic. We've teased some of the parts that he's designed before. This is a lightweight gantry X-beam that he designed, and then we had fabricated. I mean, just look how
amazing.
Look how beautiful that is, and it's I think it's more in line with like my design criteria. It's a little heavier than some of the like super skeletonized beams, but it's quite a bit lighter than just a standard extrusion. But it should retain most of the rigidity of a 2020 extrusion. And it's just beautiful. So I'm really excited to see. Yeah, totally cool.
That's awesome.
So keep an eye there. I've always wanted to have a tool changer, and have an excuse to do some like cool like multi-material things. So excited about that.
That's awesome. To change gears here, we had somebody ask if you are excited about anything in biotech and citizen science.
Definitely. So my specialty is evolutionary biology of the gut microbiome. So I study the gut bacteria that live in and on us. And one of the really cool things that's happening is the democratization of DNA sequencing, and people taking, you can do you can get your genome sequenced, right? You can also get your poop sequenced, and find out what kind of bacteria are in you. I actually did most of the sequencing for my last postdoc in my basement during COVID because of lockdowns. I took home a DNA sequencer that's about this big, plugged it into my laptop, and sequenced bacterial metagenomes in my basement for 5 months until I could go back to the lab. So we're going to see all sorts of really like incredible technologies becoming available. And I'm stoked to see how that is able to integrate into like classrooms and kids' experiences, and ability to like see the unseen world through DNA and computers and all these things. So that's exciting to me.
That's awesome. I'm going to avoid talking about poop bacteria. That's I really want to.
See, this is when your 6-year-old should be here, because then,
Oh, he would have been.
Oh yeah,
he would have been laughing. Yeah, that's his thing. He's got anything about poop or farts, he's totally into. Are there any someone's trying to get you to spill some beans? Anything we should expect for Christmas that you're aware of?
I have on the Voron side, I have no idea.
I think that's what they meant. Cool.
If you've been naughty or nice, like that's up to you and your relationship with Santa. So
So it looks like we have some people pretty offended with your bed slinger hate that you've got there. Some switch wires and all I can say is my switch wire does sit on the ground. It's not even plugged in, but they're fantastic for people that like them.
Yeah, for me it's mostly tongue in cheek. It's amazing, like the i3 thing is why we have 3D printers, I think, like is a thing. The Prusa i3 like made it happen, so it's really awesome. But I love the stability of the Core XY system and the lack of the having to like keep beds sorted out and on plane and things. But
Yeah.
that was mostly tongue in cheek. Everyone, like, I'm excited that there's deltas out there. You know, there's cross gantry printers. There's the Prexy, the Core XZ polar bed 3D printer. So there's all sorts of cool stuff out there.
Well, good. Then I'm not. Yeah, I think Civi and I were going to be ashamed to say that we're rocking the Prusa Mark IIIs at home. So
I love my Prusa. I love it. It just works.
I will say past tense, I loved it, and then I discovered the light. So, that all being said, we do have another question. What's a Voron legacy?
Voron Legacy is something I haven't built yet, alas, but it's an homage to the Mark III and other printers of its era, it's a Core XY printer, but it doesn't use linear rails. It uses the round rails, round linear guides, and it's an open frame, not enclosed. It's a I don't know if it's quite a meme printer, but it's like it's a printer that's meant to sort of like pay respect to that's why it's the legacy, right, of this like really fundamental era of 3D printer design. I think they're really gorgeous, actually. I'd love to build one.
Yeah,
I've been asking all the questions, Alan.
I've got questions. So I'm really curious how you kind of made the jump from evolutionary biology to being pretty much one of the most active people I've seen doing research into thermal expansion, you know, because there's your thermal expansion measurement software and obviously the backers and the kinematic bed mounts and everything else. So how did that evolution happen? Pardon the pun.
It's really, I mean, I'm a scientist is what it is. And if I see a problem, I want to like have data, and I want to like the story that we're told about the scientific method and in elementary school is not really true. I didn't construct a null and alternative hypothesis and well, I need to do this thing. But I did try and systematically tackle things and gather data to like ascertain what was going on because I didn't understand it. So it's really, I mean, I'm a biologist. I have background doing just hobbyist technical stuff. I'm not an engineer at all. But I like computers. I don't know. It's fun to learn stuff. It's like a video game, right? Like you can watch YouTube videos to learn anything. So if I was presented with a problem and I read about that Fusion 360 could do finite element analysis, so I like learned enough to get possibly in trouble playing with finite element analysis in Fusion, and more importantly, like doing empirical tests that I could show, right? Really writing, working with code. Also, the user alchemy was like incredibly key. He developed the frame expansion code that's now mainline Clipper, which is like how I like. It's probably what saved this printer from, you know, being thrown in the dumpster, because I was like pulling my hair out dealing with this first layer growth problem. And his like amazing work with that, and showing me that I could write scripts that would talk with mainsail to actually gather data really systematically and rigorously, allowed me to then do this other thing. So to me, it's all data. Like I love data. I love having a problem, being able to like collect data to address the problem, and then maybe triangulate our way around to solving it. So I would say that like scientist shit, really.
Nice. And then
somebody did ask, and I apologize, I missed it. I don't think it was even the last question, but you know, you talked a little bit about the Voron vibe. You know, everybody's just really passionate into what they're into, and so they, you know, they start working on projects and such. But the person asks, is there ever a like, we just need to get this thing done, this needs to work on all the Vorons sort of before this thing gets released kind of thing that you've seen? Or is it more just people, again, having a passion and saying, hey, I'm gonna work on this, and sort of when they have the time, they have the time?
I'm pretty new in the design team, keep in mind. So I haven't been around for that long. But I will say that I don't think that I've seen much, if any, like top-down direction. Like literally everything I've seen has been like someone being excited. And Bad Noob talked about this in the tap release stream, right? Like RCF had a more, 2 years ago or something, like a long time ago, like he had been working on this sort of like idea of a vertical linear reel on the tool head that using, constraining motion to activate a nozzle probe. And then it went through this whole bad noob got like excited about it and sort of took over. But I don't think there was ever anyone who said sort of like, okay, group, we must have a nozzle probe. Like, let's like target Q4 of 2022. Nothing like that. So, and I think that like a lot of stuff that I've seen has really just been like someone is stoked about something and kind of makes it happen. And I don't want to like overlook or discount all the stuff that people are doing in the community. Like, there's so much like really amazing stuff that people are developing that is every bit as thought out and useful and careful and beautiful as anything that comes from the design team. So like, it's cool. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean the list of even unsanctioned mods that are out there that you can find. There's some incredible things. It's awesome. There's two questions that are I guess maybe in the same vein here, but sort of who is another dev or another person that you go to as sort of a soundboard in the community?
Really depends on the question, and I think that's really just a testament to the diversity of background and experience and skill. So like with the electronic stuff, recently I've been having a lot of, or for example, the PCB stuff. Vinny Cordero has been my co-developer, collaborator on many of the PCB things that I worked on. So the PCB clicky, for example, is 100% a collaboration between me and Vinny. And like happily I was able to bring this as a product and send him some of the proceeds from that, which is like a really cool thing. So he really got me started on PCB design and KiCad and stuff. And recently the Brack show and the Vorons and design team, it's an electrical engineer, knows an absolute ton about circuit design and testing and analysis, and that's been really fun. This is totally just top of my head stuff, right? Like I haven't thought about it at all, but and not just in the design team, but like in the broader community, right? People who have different expertises and ideas and experience. So I would say that like everyone I've talked to has been really like super happy to share their time and their energy.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's also, I think, been most of our experiences. It's one of the great things about the community, truly. I would argue there's no better 3D printing community out there. The other question that we have here is there anybody? I mean, I know you mentioned Russian cat food, and there's are other people that have been on this team for quite some time. Is there anybody that is sort of sets the vision for the, I guess they said for the community, I'm going to say also for the development?
Boy, I don't know. I don't like, it doesn't feel to me like a top down thing. So like I don't with the caveat, like I mentioned, that Reddit post from RCF a couple years ago, which I don't think was necessarily about setting a vision for the development, but it was certainly a vision for the community. Um, so maybe if we separate those things, I do think that there is a coherent vision for the community as being like an inviting and organized and happy place for people to like hang out and work on printers and have good ideas. I don't know that I have seen like a strategic vision for like the design or the like future of Voron. I think it's like everything that I've seen so far has just been totally like someone's excited or people get each other pumped about some idea and kind of like chase after it. On the other hand, there's 37,000 people in the community. So like there's a lot of opportunity for these little pockets of like enthusiasm to bubble up and explore different regions of printer space, which is really special.
You did mention Doomcube a while ago and some of the cool things that are going on there. What's your favorite mod in Doomcube?
I think probably the tip-in panels from Chaos Maker. I don't know if you've seen these, but if I'm working on my V2 and I need to do something on like this side of the gantry, I can just take the panel off. Even if I'm using the standard panel clips, it's not that big of a deal. If I'm working in a Doomcube, it's a lot harder. There's like two panels, they're kind of like integrated into the frame. So Chaos Maker, who's just a wonderful human being and really creative and brilliant person as well, designed these really cool magnetic tip-in panels that use just like stock. I think they're like cabinet magnets. You know, the magnets you kind of like close a cabinet with, and the whole panel assembly kind of goes click click, and it's in there firmly, but it comes out really easily. They're awesome. Yeah. So check those out if you're building a Doomcube.
I actually I don't know the mod. I'm definitely looking that up. That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your door.
On your website, you do have a link that says Labware and it's empty. What gives with that?
Yeah, so my company, Lightweight Labware, was originally conceived of as 3D printing and supplying inexpensive laboratory equipment for biology labs to enable like more researchers who have less access to capital to do sort of like genomic high throughput biology. So some of my research in my last postdoc was about developing higher throughput methods for doing like massively parallel biology, like really cheaply. And part of that was making these kind of inexpensive replacements that were things you could make at a makerspace to substitute for these like $5,000-$8,000 instruments that you could buy from laboratory supply companies. And I really got sidetracked anodizing titanium for y'all. But I swear to God, I'm going to like get back to 3D printing Labware sometime soon. I don't know if I have any. I don't think I have any actual things printed out right now, but I've got somewhere buried in my GitHub is some of my 3D printed lab equipment stuff. So I've got things like lab rotators. You need to rotate things. I have those magnetic racks that I mentioned earlier. I've got some shakers. I've been working on, for the longest time, I've been on a break with it, but I've been working on a centrifuge, a 3D printable centrifuge, which is maybe not a thing you should 3D print because it involves like higher energies, but I think we can do it. There's a patent that's about to expire on a fluorescence-based DNA quantification instrument that is like ubiquitous in labs, and they totally suck, and they cost like $5,000 each. And I think we can make them for like way, way cheaper than that. So I've got my sights set on that for 2025 when the patent expires.
Sweet. That's awesome. I have a question. So how did you, and maybe it's a two-part question. So what got you, you said you have a sort of a titanium fetish here, but what got you into just anodizing everything? Like you got the screws, you've got actually brought some, I know we haven't listed these things, but like we've got the little openers and keychains and kinematics mounts and backers. I mean, you definitely, and my second part to that question is after you tell us sort of what got you into it, does it feel like a job now that you are, I mean, people are totally digging it, or is it something that's fun?
It definitely feels like a job, a little bit, but it's a part-time job. And that's cool. But I do that because I love it. Because I mean, look how pretty that is. That's gorgeous. Look at those colors, man. That is just sick.
Yeah, it's pretty.
There's something about it. So I think it's so titanium anodizing color is a structural color, which means that it's not a pigment like it is with aluminum anodizing. It's actually a product of thin film interference in the oxide layer of the titanium. And that's the same thing that generates colors in an oil puddle, for example. And it's related to the processes that generate colors, and some of the colors in like butterfly wings or iridescent beetle shells. So there's this like iridescence that's really kind of a complex physical phenomenon to it. It's like a beautiful thing. So to me, that's really what it is I don't get as many avenues for artistic expression as a bioinformatician, but like these are things, little titanium business cards, so that I've been working on developing, like you know, this is cool shit. It's just beautiful, you know. That's really what it is it's fun, it's pretty.
Can I make a request? Next time you send us something, can I get your business card?
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yep.
And I will definitely show people at shows. I'm not going to hand it out because
that's one of those things where it's kind of like pricey to give out. But I'm going to be. I've been experimenting with. Do I have one here? Yeah. Using laser marking to do like black.
Yeah, the black laser marking.
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing that to put the like text on the business cards and maybe like a QR code or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's totally just a fun, like pretty colors, like ooh, shiny. You like shiny. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get this to show up. Oh, come on.
Focus.
There we go. Yeah, that's my wedding ring. So that is, it was described as, it's a Taimoko. So it's titanium. So they took the silver and black titanium and then folded it like a Mokugane blade. Yeah. It's like, so believe me, so I'm with you on titanium and beauty.
Yeah, it's a cool material. Yeah.
We've got a question up at the top before I miss it here, but any odd tips or tricks for building or printing that you love that isn't mentioned in the community much?
Well, unlikely that I'm going to come up with anything that's not mentioned in the community much, because like that's where I'm getting it from. Yeah. I don't and I'm like obviously incredibly chaotic and disorganized, so you probably don't want to follow any of my tips for building. If you did, you will also end up with a half-built V0 for like 4 months. Printing, there's a thing that I'm doing. I haven't actually done this yet, but I've mentioned it to some people. I have some crappy old build plates, aluminum. They're samples that have like terrible, they're not flat. But I'm going to screw one to the bench here and then put a magnetic sheet on it. So when I take my build plate out of the printer, I can just flap it onto that vertical face, and I'm going to put a cardboard box underneath it. so that when the parts ping off, when they cool, they'll just fall in the box.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
that accomplishes quick part removal without my grubby,
Fingers, you
oily,
don't
sweaty
touch
fingers.
it. Yeah.
And it accomplishes not having another flat surface that I'm going to put shit on and then not be able to use because it's vertical, right? So that's a thing I'm going to try and do. Yeah. And you can buy sheets of Amazon on aluminum. You can buy sheets of aluminum on Amazon for like not that much. They're not going to be Mic 6, but like they'll be a heat sink. And I know there's a vendor who is known to like ship magnetic stickers with his flexible build plates. So you might find a reason to have an extra one of those.
Well, that's all. That's actually a fantastic idea. And I mean, I'm like, definitely it wouldn't be a vanity win or anything. I use like the little Mickey Mouse cotton gloves, like when I'm doing things. I don't have to do that anymore. That's awesome. There was a question on sort of what your process looks like for anodizing in the home shop, and I want to follow up with: are you still doing like the live streams every once in a while of your anodizations?
I haven't been doing them, but I'm planning on doing them again at some point. It's going to make sure I don't have anything here that's going to get me in trouble. I don't think so. All right, so I use a big ass the big ass ultrasonic cleaner, heated water bath. For anodizing, the really important thing is the etching, actually, because that's developing the surface that's going to grow the anodizing layer, and that is the hardest thing to do, and it's the most important thing to do. That's what I've struggled with the most in my whole process. So I use this giant ultrasonic water bath and different types of food service trays, which just happen to fit perfectly into the size of water bath. So I'll use this for like cleaning with my simple green to like degrease everything. And then I'll use these polycarbonate trays for actually doing the chemistry, because you can't do the etching in a metal tray because then you'd be like dissolving the metal of the tray. So that doesn't work. So it's just this complicated dance between, getting the etchant hot enough to work and the parts degreased. And so then I've got kind of a workflow that I've developed where I degrease everything, put it in distilled water, etch it in the 70 degrees Celsius heated etchant bath, rinse that in distilled water, and then put it in my anodizing tray, which is it's another stainless steel food service tray with some like nylon gutter guard heat like formed to prevent shorts from happening. And then I just have a 100-volt laboratory power supply that actually runs the current through it. It's deceptively simple. Like you can actually anodize titanium with a couple 9-volt batteries and some baking soda. Like that's all you need to like change the color of the surface of a titanium object. You can actually get pretty decent like lower voltage things, sort of matte blues and purples. You can kind of get maybe some straw brown bronze colors. And they'll do perfectly fine with some 9-volt batteries and baking soda.
See, we've got that ultrasonic that's just sitting there.
Yeah, you don't need an ultrasonic. You can just use a simple green and paper towel. Like clean the shit out of your thing, dip it in the baking soda water, run some voltage through it, and you're good to go. You'll get some color on it. But to get the like beautiful high voltage colors, the consistent color across a large surface area is not trivial, and that all comes down to the surface prep and the etching. That's been definitely a learning process.
Well, that's awesome. I still know an experiment if we ever have time. That sounds awesome.
It's really fun. Yeah,
it'd be fun. We should try it.
Definitely try it. Yeah.
Do you have to worry about VOCs when you're anodizing titanium?
there's no organic chemistry in the process, so no volatile organic carbons. And the particular processes that I use are relatively innocuous chemistry. The etchant is sodium fluoride and ammonium persulfate. Ammonium persulfate is a pretty strong oxidizer. It's not the best thing. And sodium fluoride is in your toothpaste, but if you like ingest a lot of it, it will kill you. So you don't want to do that. But they're not like things that will like eat your flesh. The other thing that people use to etch titanium is hydrofluoric acid, which will eat your flesh and it will get in your bones and kill you without you knowing it. So I do not use that because it's a just terrifying chemical. A lot of the online videos will use commercially available hydrofluoric acid chemicals as their etchants, but I don't use that.
That's a good enough warning for me. We're using baking soda and a 9-volt battery.
Yeah.
Let's see. We thought we had something here. Can you
yeah,
like Nocturnal Brown?
This is actually important. Mishinza is noting that the electrolysis is making a small amount of hydrofluoric acid. This is true. That's why you're using sodium fluoride, but it's being formed and consumed on the surface of the material that you're using. So it's like a kind of a closed loop process. You're not using it in excess where it can really become a problem. Don't drink the etchant by any means, right? And I dispose of it properly and wear PPE. But yeah.
Alan or Civi, do you have any questions?
I mean, I have an off-topic question. I don't know why I've been wondering this since I heard, but why'd you pick California? Just all things considered. Not that I love California; it's got my favorite cities and everything, but just everything considered, why California?
I went to college out here. I lived in the Monterey Bay area for a while. I really fell in love with it. It really comes down to we had an opportunity. We would never be able to afford to live here on our own, but like banding up with our friends, we can share a house and make that work. We've got a lot of sort of economies of scale this way. It doesn't work for everybody, but we're fortunate enough that it works for us. But I love California. The diversity of the ecosystems here is astonishing. I'm a scuba diver, and the kelp forest in Monterey Bay are, on a good day, I think the best place to dive in the world, and it's amazing. So I'd love to be able to do that again someday. Yeah, California. Every time I come back, on the plane, I play Joni Mitchell's California on my phone.
Nice.
As we're landing. Yeah.
You do a lot of things. I didn't know you were a scuba diver on top of everything. That's awesome.
Well, it's been a long time, but I actually did marine biology in undergrad. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Just curious.
Yeah.
So, Dan, did you want to do a giveaway?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask. So that one of my other questions was, so we've got the PCB clicking things, and somebody noted that my description on the website could be improved. And I was literally, Alan mentioned this, and I thought it was a good idea. I was just going to type something up as you're talking, but
yeah,
be a very unique description. But so tell us a little bit about them, and why would I buy this if I was somebody over just doing the standard clicky or the clicky, the NG?
Yeah.
Hold on, I don't have the website up yet. One sec. Oh,
the motivation for the PCB clicky was really to make something that was like easier to put together and consistent. So people have noted some issues with magnets sort of like moving or creeping over time in the all printed version of the clicky PCB. or sorry, an
In the
original
clicky
printed version of the clicky. And so this was an attempt to basically use the same form factor, the same docks and mounting and everything, but using PCBs, which are nice and flat and consistent, to make sure that you have a nice planar arrangement of the magnets, just to hopefully keep things sort of stable longer term. That was really the motivation, and also because I was excited to have a open source GPL licensed PCB based magnetic detachable probe.
Oh, cool.
There's another motivation behind doing it. So now that you guys have that, I've been meaning to put all the original design files on my GitHub. They'll go up this weekend probably. I've been a little slow. I'm dealing with some illness in the family, but yeah, all the KiCad files and stuff are going to go up. So, you know, hopefully people will come up with cool new things based on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got 2 sentences out of that for the description. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and the kit comes with printed parts printed on these two machines right here. And well, printed parts. It comes with the carrier for the tool head and 2 of the little probe doohickeys. And it comes with 2 probe PCBs pre-soldered with switches. And that's because it's like, I always found it was nice to have a backup PCB, a backup probe on hand for the clicky in case like your cat takes one, or like one thing that I've done is like accidentally set my X travel Z height too low, so that like it probes once and then it like grinds the switch along the surface of my like textured PEI. And I've destroyed a switch that way. So my goal was to like give you a backup in case that happened, so that you'll have something you can just swap in.
I noticed that the actual micro switch, it's an Omron, but it's definitely a different design, and it almost like, I mean, it depresses, but it's not necessarily straight, like, and it has a lot more I guess range of motion before it clicks. Did you do some testing, or is there a reason why you chose this design or this model?
This is the Omron D2HW. You can see it's got like a longer probe. It gives a very satisfying click. They're really nice fidget toys.
It does.
I made 50, I think, beta kits that I distributed to people. And everyone got 2 switches, but they got 2 different switches. So as a data scientist, right, I wanted to make sure that because everyone's printer is different. So you couldn't just give everyone a different switch and do the stats on like which switch had the best repeatability. You wanted to control for the variable of the individual printer. So I sent everyone 2 different switches and then looked at how repeatable each switch was while regressing out the effect of the individual. And we found that there weren't that big of a difference, but people like these ones better, so we use them instead. Is really what it comes down to. But the footprint is the same. So you can desolder this and solder in an Omron or a Kali or whatever, any mouse switch that you want.
Okay. I mean, it's sweet and definitely is a lot more satisfying, and it's super cool because I do know that these micro switches, unless you've found like some magic one, you know, they don't last forever.
They don't last forever. Yeah.
And so giving you 2, especially if you're gonna, you know, this is not a $3 product, you know, so giving you, I think, the extra one is super cool, by the way. I thought it's also awesome that people in the community, and this one, I mean, this is your product. It's a lightweight Labware product. It's really awesome that you think about that stuff.
Yeah. And also I do want to say that everything I make is open source. And I publish everything that I make with a very permissive license. Everything for Voron I'm publishing under the GPL license, which means that anyone can manufacture it, anyone can sell it, anyone can modify it as long as they're also making their modification available under the same license. And so if if you want to make it and sell it, you have absolutely every right to do that under the license terms.
That's fantastic. In this case, I'm super happy to support the community and the person developing it. So thank you. And thanks for always popping on Discord and telling me you're working on cool stuff, because I feel like I get lost sometimes. Yeah, I said we have some PCB clickies I want to give out, and so I don't know, John, I don't want to throw you on the spot. I had 2 trivia questions, but if you can come up with another 1 or 2 as I'm going, we can pick from people in the chat. And basically the way this works is we ask a question, we see who gets the answer first or gets close within a certain period of time, and then they can just email me and I'll send them. They'll be one of the first with the PCB clicky. It looks like it's not really listed yet in most places. So you'll have an opportunity to be one of the first that are not part of the beta PCB gang. So the first question is, and I'll give you a hint, we're only a little more than a year old. We celebrated our year birthday recently. When did we first open our figurative doors? And I'm just looking on the chat here. And there is a delay, so we won't see it for a couple seconds.
The YouTube chat delay is the most annoying thing about live streaming for me.
It is. Or maybe I make it look like I work hard. So I'm going to go for...
I know you work hard. All of you vendors are always working like crazy. It is absolutely amazing.
Let's I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a couple more seconds here. We've got an October 2021 without a date. A date would be awesome.
There's one with a date.
We got an October 22nd, 31st, I'm assuming is October 2010. You're giving us way too much credit. Or not enough, I guess. We've been around for a little bit over a year. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. And Aaron, Mr. Machinza here was the closest. Actually, October 1st. We chose to start on a clean month so we could, for data purposes and stuff, we can say we start on clear month. We were ready in mid-September. So Aaron, send me a DM just so I don't forget. But you won one of the PCB clickies. The second one here is what was the first thing we ever sold? And it can be, you don't have to be exact, but the first type of thing we ever sold. And I will give you a free, I also have like our new Berserker rails and some other things. I will give you something else free if you know what happened to that thing I first sold.
Oh, definitely raises the stakes in an interesting way.
We got it. That was the first one. Fastener kit was. So the BDF fastener kit, I started West 3D because when I was interested, so I got into it way after you did, John, but it was just a pain in the ass, seriously, to like get this stuff, and the kits just weren't really trustworthy. So I went the self-sourcing route, and it was like, oh man, like it was either you do a very painful process or you spend, I think fastener kits at that time were like $120. It was insane. So that was our first product. It went to Fabrico actually, because he was looking for a kit, and I thought I would make like $100 a month doing this thing. Really, I was like, if you could help me, that'd be fantastic. And what happened to it is it got lost in the mail. So yeah, it was something else. So ICT 3D, Chris, if you just send me an email or DM on Discord, Dan at West 3D, I'll send you a PCB clicky. John, do you have 2 questions?
I have one. So if you were to take all of the bacteria in your gut, just the bacterial cells, and add them up and weigh them, how much would that weigh? And I'll give it a give it another 10 seconds.
They're coming up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will give it to Culinaire. 1 pound is probably the closest to the accurate. There's actually some debate in the literature about this, but by my reckoning, 1 pound is probably, half a kilo is probably about right.
Awesome. If you want to, so Colinair, if you want to email me, Dan at West3D. And honestly, if you guys want something else too, let me know. But the PCB clickies are super cool.
And Chris Loudermilk's wife gets the
other one.
Other one there.
Perfect. Now there we go. We've got all
yeah,
four.
Let's do that. That's perfect.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any other questions written down?
I've got one thing, which, like we had said earlier, we're hoping to do, more of these talks with people in the community. And, going back to what you were first talking about, when I was looking to build my next printer, one of the things that really impressed me was not only the quality of, pardon the pun, the Discord, in Discord, but also the fact that, there were people like yourself that, I had read were making these products, and then there you are. And it's like, you can't swing a cat without hitting a Heart K board. And then you say something and there's Heart K going like, yeah, cool. So what I would like to know is, who is someone that you think we should do this kind of talk with? And I don't want you to feel like you have to play favorites with anybody, but
I think Heart K, that's a perfect example to me. You get Kyle on here. Bad Noob also super wonderful. I saw Sanity in the chat earlier, the grantor of cereals. I would love to learn more about her Voron journey as well. So there's 3 names.
Yeah. And several of them were people that I know I've already thought about. I saw Steve was here. Would love to
Steve, of course. Now I'm within driving distance of Steve now, so I'm gonna
knock on a door if he doesn't answer.
Yeah, hopefully go. He's already come and seen my shop once, nice. So I'll probably get a chance to return the favor before too long.
Sanity, I am sure that you are not boring.
See, and we even have somebody that's saying we have to get you on. So I'm hoping that you guys like this. To be honest, it's the first one. We'll look at the format and see if everything's great or good. So I want your guys' feedback on that. Thank you guys for coming. If you guys have other questions, we can leave it open for just a few more minutes. But again, John, dude, super cool. You giving your time, just like everything in the Voron community, like he was saying. I mean, there was no contributions here or anything like that. I mean, he's just giving his time. And John, I think this is maybe the first time we've actually spoke in person. So
I think so.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I mean, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And Kyle, so Heart K, this is actually Heart K's Micron I bought from him.
Oh, you got it.
I
Nice.
did. I know he posted it in the garage sale. I'm like, I know this, and it's like I think it was the Fun Store kit or whatever. But I did make him give me a whole bunch of stickers and everything. So we've got stickers around the office, and I made him even sign it because I'm a fanboy. So I'll definitely reach out to him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much also for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's fun to see your faces as well, hear your voices.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Any final departing words of wisdom?
Not for me.
You've given us a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks.
Cool.
Well, with this, I think we're signing off here. Again, thank you guys for all of your time. Both people that have hung around for the entire, I don't know how long we've been here now.
Like an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Geez.
Whoa.
Wow, John, you gave a lot of time. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you weren't charging your consulting fees.
Well, I don't usually have a reputation for being concise, so kind of what happens.
It's all good.
But seriously, guys, thank you for hanging on, and again, give us some feedback. Our YouTube channel is only about 2 months old. We do want to get more content and media on here, so if there's also anything that you guys want to see us support, us people to talk to, mods to present, anything like that, just reach out to any one of us on Discord, and we would be, super thrilled to hear from you. So thank you guys, and have a great weekend. Good night.
Again. Take care.
Ciao.
Yeah. Bye.